Hello, hi, thank you for being here. My name is Caitlin Michelle. Let's talk life and esoterics. I hope you have had a really great week. Actually, it's been a week and 2 days. I'm sorry. I know last week I had announced that I am moving this show to Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. And yesterday, I attempted many times to start recording. And I would get a few minutes in and something would happen. We had a full house. We had some family over and it was great fun. But we also had a handyman here for a long time till midnight. Can you believe that? I didn't even realize that was a possibility till last night because I had decided, oh, all right, I'll record late at night after everybody goes to sleep, where there will be quiet. And I didn't realize that the handyman would still be fiddling with the garage door opener at that time. So here I am on Thursday, a day late. And for that, I apologize, but I am very happy to be here. I kind of really want to talk about emotions this week. And I know emotions for some people can feel a little icky, and some people it just doesn't ring any sort of bells. And some people are very, very healthy in their emotions, and we're all across the spectrum. But I came across a quote this week that I thought was so beautifully written, I really wanted to share it. And it was actually in one of the Oracle card booklets. I think it was the White Light Oracle card deck by Alana Fairchild. Anyway, so here's the quote. Rapture is a state of intensely pleasurable joy that lifts one into communion with the sublime and the sacred. It is not only a personal experience, but a transfusion of divine delight into the collective soul of humanity. This is the kind of joy that is generous and soulful, without reason or agenda, and delightfully contagious. It refreshes the soul and nourishes the heart. And I think this quote does a really great job of showing how when each one of us individually does our own work, and maybe not even do our own work, but when we can tap into our own joy, maybe by following our passion or being in the flow, it's not only of service to us, but it lifts the consciousness and the vibration of the entire collective, of everybody, even people who we'll never meet, we'll never know, everybody. So I think this is important to remember, and I want to remember this on a daily basis. I know I'm not alone in being a little, or feeling a little guilty sometimes when I need my own personal time to do something that centers me before going back into mom mode or going back into work mode. And I think it depends, the family of origin that we grow up in. But I would venture to say that by and large, many of us have grown up in families where that sort of behavior would be looked down upon as being very selfish. I know I feel certainly like I have to almost martyr myself in order to be a good mom. I have to give up something in order to be a good mom. That's kind of really deep down. And I know that's not a healthy belief. And so the end part of this quote just really placing emphasis on each one of us doing the work to be in the flow, to be joyful, is lifting us up and everybody. So that's of way more service, I'd say, than sacrificing a huge aspect of who we are or what we're here to do. We're able to experience something called the flow for a reason, and it's because that's when we know that we're in our own unique groove. And then the whole idea of rapture, or just intensely pleasurable joy, it sounds so juicy. That's something that I would love to allow myself to experience on a regular basis. And this kind of brings up the point that I have been working on personally this year in terms of being able to feel my emotions. And that requires being open to the entire range. I know personally I kind of shut off my emotion. Well, that's not accurate to say. I didn't shut off my emotions, but I transferred my interface with my emotions from being in the body, where they naturally reside, to the mind, which disembodies them and kind of leaves them high and dry, and the emotions get stuck that way. I think that's why in my ayahuasca ceremony, it was just a lot of emotions that came up, and it's not as though they were connected to any thoughts specifically. Some were, I knew what they were, but most of the deep sadness and despair that came up, I don't even know exactly what they were connected to, but they were there, and they were waiting to be moved through. And that's the beauty of plant medicine, in my opinion, is being able to allow things to move through, to be transformed, to be transmuted. And you don't have to do plant medicine to do that. And I think just being allowed to feel the full spectrum and being given the tools to understand how to handle emotions is really the ideal scenario. And that's what I'm trying to do with my son. He's at the very beginning of the toddler stage, and we're having meltdowns and lots of big emotions. And even as adults, we don't always know how to handle our emotions, and we explode on our loved ones and such. And so of course, when we have our little ones, our little people, just starting to experience the world of big emotions, we can't really expect them to handle them perfectly. And so I see it as my job to help him, and to give him the tools. Something I've been using a lot lately is when he is very obviously frustrated and he starts kind of pushing or hitting objects or glass, or sometimes my leg, I'll redirect him to a pillow that I have nearby, or maybe in the next room or something, and I'll start modeling hitting that, and then he'll do that, and then almost instantly his emotions will kind of run through and be transformed, and then he's better, and there's a lightness to him. And even today, we were driving our family back to the airport, and we got back into the car after saying goodbye, and instantly he was so distressed and frustrated, and we had a half-hour drive back home. And once we knew that it wasn't his diaper, because I changed that, it wasn't milk, and he was back in his car seat. Then I started going through breathing exercises with him, and all three of us, my husband, my son, myself in the car, I would just direct us through a sequence of breathing, just a deep inhale, a deep exhale, just 3 in a row. And just something that simple made a huge difference. That and reaching around so he can hold my hand, and also telling him that what he's feeling is valid and that I understand, and I hear that he's frustrated. As soon as he knew that, and we went through the breathing exercises, he was able to find his center. And though he still seemed upset, I could see his face in his car seat mirror. He was still upset, but he wasn't crying, and he seemed a lot calmer. And he was just tired, really. He went straight to bed when we did get home, and he's still sleeping, which is why I'm able to be here with you right now. But, that's what I wish I had when I was younger. And, we're all of us as parents, and all of our parents, all the generations through, we do what we can, and we utilize what we know. Everyone, I would like to think, is doing their best. And when I pinpointed this, this is something I wanted to focus on with my son and any future kids that we have, because it's something that I'm struggling with, and because both my son and I have the same life path number, and our life path number, which is the 3, by the way, it kind of comes with the territory of having a lot of emotions and sensitivity and such. And so I'm grateful that I get to have that understanding first, and that I can help him with what I have learned. And I am not perfect by any means, because I still have a lot of trouble feeling my own emotions. I do. Whether it is great emotions like excitement and joy and happiness, or sadness, anger, frustration. I've kind of stunted myself on both sides, but it's kind of like a slingshot, I think, when we allow ourselves to feel the despair of a moment of whatever has happened, because we all experience pain of some way, of some shape or form. When we allow ourselves to really feel it, then once it's processed and through our body, that opens us up into being able to experience even greater joy and happiness and passion. And, I would love to see what a society looks like when everybody is passionate. I looked up the definition for passion on dictionary.com. And the definitions, the 2 of the definitions, were any powerful or compelling emotion, a strong or extravagant fondness, enthusiasm, or desire for anything. Passion. And then from that, I thought it would be worth it to also look up, what does emotion actually mean in the dictionary sense? And it says that it is an affective state of consciousness. Emotion is consciousness. And in this state of consciousness, we can experience joy, sorrow, fear, hate, or anything like that. And as a state of consciousness, this is distinctly different from cognitive and volitional states. And so emotions are distinctly different from the mind, and trying to control our emotions with logic is kind of like beating ourselves with a stick. And that's terrible. That's not